We might seem old by saying this, but video game bosses aren't what they used to be. While there are plenty of difficult games out there, few come close to the brutality of the 16-bit era. These games were a lot shorter, so developers included extremely difficult bosses to stretch the playtime. Get ready for 10 hard retro bosses that still haunt our dreams. Super Metroid is one of the best games ever made that has a very difficult boss fight in the form of Ridley. When you first encounter him, you're supposed to lose the fight. However, it is possible to defeat him, but you will need a crazy amount of skill to manage that. The second time you face him is a little easier, but still no walk in the park. He has no weak points, and you must simply dodge his attacks while shooting missiles at him. It takes about 30 missiles to bring this monster down, so don't expect an easy battle. Splatterhouse 2 is already a very challenging game, and its final boss is an absolute nightmare. The ultimate evil moves around very quickly, and it's difficult to avoid its many heads. This boss even likes to hide off-screen, which makes it impossible for you to hit him. When you finally do take him down, you're expecting to see the credits roll. However, the boss is still not done with you, and you will need to take down his second form. Yeah, good luck with that. Shao Kahn set a new low standard for difficult fighting game bosses. This final boss from Mortal Kombat 2 is incredibly cheap and very unbalanced. He keeps spamming the same attacks, taunts you all the time, and his moves do an insane amount of damage.
Feel the power of Shao Kahn.
You will need to resort to the same cheap tactics if you want to stand a chance against him. This is definitely one of the more broken video game bosses in this video.
Is that your best?
Chrono Trigger is an absolute masterpiece on the Super Nintendo. However, we remember the final bosses a little less fondly. Lavos has many different forms and a crazy amount of health. His first form emulates the attack patterns of many bosses you fought over the course of the game. So you better come prepared if you want to take this guy down. Echo the Dolphin is one of the weirdest games on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive. You play a dolphin in an underwater adventure full of difficult puzzles and enemies. The toughest enemy is the final boss, which is a huge alien queen. Besides looking really out of place, the queen also manages to deliver an incredibly difficult fight. It's very hard to dodge the many projectiles she fires at you. Watch out for her mouth, because if she sucks you up, you'll be forced to replay the previous level. Frustrating, to say the least. We hate it when a game serves up all the previous bosses you defeated in the final battle. ActRaiser is one of the worst examples of having a terrible boss gauntlet. Not only do you need to fight all the monsters again, they're also much stronger and faster. You have to defeat them without being able to heal between fights. It's a very difficult challenge, and we don't blame gamers who simply gave up instead. And when you're finally done, you still need to take down the final boss. Street Fighter 2 blew our young minds back in the day. We loved going through the story mode, beating up all the different challenges. However, our journey to the top got derailed when we encountered M. Bison. This final boss is no joke, and he has some incredibly powerful attacks. His moves are so much stronger than anything that came before. He will beat you up and make it look easy too. However, we don't hate this boss, he still fights fair, unlike the final boss in Mortal Kombat 2. Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo was made with the help of Square Enix. You can really recognize the art of the creators of Final Fantasy in a secret boss battle. Culex looks very out of place in a Mario game. His difficulty level is also extremely high compared to the many bosses that came before him. The fight is completely optional and only there to test the skill of the best players. You really need to know what you're doing if you decide to fight this secret boss. We blew through Sonic the Hedgehog 2 when it first came out. However, the final boss proved to be a major roadblock. This time you need to take on Dr. Eggman without any rigs in sight. That means that one hit will kill you instantly. This ramps up the difficulty to the extreme as you basically have to play perfectly. One mistake means starting the fight from the very beginning. It took a lot of patience and carefully studying his patterns until we were able to finally beat this guy. The classic role-playing game Final Fantasy III has an extremely tough final boss in the form of Cloud of Darkness. She's incredibly strong and her attacks do an insane amount of damage. You really need to grind for hours before you even stand a chance against her. What's worse is the fact that you need to replay a large part of the game if you lose, which takes a good 30 minutes to do. Cloud of Darkness really tests your patience to the max. Do you have any other examples of really tough retro video game bosses? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Up.